Hey guys, how's it going? It's Atheist for the Cause again. I wanted to talk about a conversation with Spinosauruskin, someone who I respect, and I've watched a lot of his stuff. He's got a YouTube video. He's got quite a few followers on things like Twitter. It's like over 5,500. So, um, I think that he's got a lot of he's being intellectually lazy in this conversation, to put it bluntly, and he can do a lot better. He normally does, but I think, we've got to keep our own house clean if we want to expect the people we disagree with us to take us seriously. So, and listen to us when we say they should change. Um, anyways, so he took this, he was messaged or tweeted this or something from someone else and said, he's saying the cringe. And what it says is waking up from anti white brainwashing can be extremely difficult, but there's a lot of us now, and you're not alone. At white motivation. And I'm not sure if this is a real um, thing or if there's a real person behind this Twitter account or not. This is the account, and as you can see, there's 17 new tweets already, and as I record this, there's just going to be more and more, and they'll all come at once. And like, watch, if I click this, it'll probably be all the same stuff. Yeah, see, there's like 17 tweets that they're just retweeting. So, um, so anyways, it doesn't really matter if it's a bot or not, but I just wanted to point that out. So then I said, what's cringeworthy about this? Because I don't really see anything cringeworthy and about the content itself. And so he said, quote unquote, we're all brainwashed guys at Draft Obvious. And I'm like, what? That's not what I was saying. That's not what she was saying. Um, I don't really get it, where he's coming from there. Um, she's saying, I keep saying she because of this picture, but the Twitter account is saying that some people are brainwashed, but it's not that we're all brainwashed. It's clearly this person doesn't think that they're brainwashed, because otherwise there would be no waking up from it. And to say that, we're not alone, and or you're not alone, there's a lot of us now, like, that wouldn't make sense if we're all brainwashed guys. So, I don't really get it. So then he goes on to say, quote unquote, white motivation. That's the name of the account. It sounds like SJW shit. Okay, first of all, I don't care what it sounds like. What actually is it? Um, and second of all, who cares what they name? Like, I'm atheist for the cause, but I go by, I have the tag at Draft Hobbyist because I created this account for talking about the draft originally, and then the NFL draft, that is. And it's just like, that's pretty weak to mention the Twitter account name, but whatever. And then to say it sounds like SJW shit, I mean, who cares if it's like SJW shit? If it just sounds like it, I mean, let's talk about the actual content and the merits of that content. Let's not just label things with you know, where everything that's labeled in SJW comment or buying SJW, suddenly it's all, tainted somehow. Um, you're not gonna find me going down that rabbit hole too easily. I mean, sometimes I'll insult people by calling them SJWs, or I'll say they're acting like an SJW or something, but when it actually comes down to it, and like, we're talking about specific content, I never get to the point where I'm dismissing content because of who the content is coming from. So, that's basically gets into an ad hominem attack. So, anyways, I say it's anti SJW shit. It's no different than atheists saying it's okay to break from religion. Obviously, I've been in the atheist movement for about 15 years, following it and discussing within it. And there, when things were more serious back in the day, I sound old now, but um, a lot of people were scared to come out. It's still true to some extent in some communities, but it's a lot better than it used to be. And people would lose their jobs, or if they came out, or their family. The main problem was families would like disown them. Even kids would like kick kids out of the house and stuff. And there are major societal problems for having certain stances, and that's especially true with a lot of racial stances. So I don't think there's anything wrong with, especially for people who want to identify as white and claim there's nothing wrong with being white. There's a very serious political and societal price to pay for having that kind of a stance. And encouraging other people to come out if they feel they're waking up from this anti-white brainwashing, um, to feel that there's other people that share similar views, that they'll be able to find community even if their communities kick them out. That's actually rather important. So I see nothing wrong with this message. Um, and a lot of atheists were closeted back in the day, so especially that's what the whole clergy project was about, helping clergy people get out of their job and move on and come out, or if they were going to stay in the closet, helping them cope with the issue that they faced. So there's a lot of ramifications, like if you could get fired, and then if say someone found out this was your stance politically, and then they tell your employer you could get fired, and then you could lose your health insurance, and your kids could lose their health insurance, and maybe like I have epilepsy, you know, if my parents would have lost their health insurance, I would have lost my health insurance, because I was on their health insurance as a kid. So it's a very serious issue. Um, but then you say, n- this guy comes in. I think he's a follower of Spinosauruskin, and he says, "Nope, it's conspiratory. It's conspiratory alt-right bullshit," and you know it. It's like I don't really know what he's referring to by the conspiracy thing. I mean, is he saying that they're pushing like the white genocide theory, that there's a genocide going on against whites or something like that? First of all, I don't think that's much of a conspiracy. That's actually the way that it's argued among some of the white nationalists. Like, they have a point. Um, I won't get into it too much because that's not what this video is really about. But basically, there aren't a lot of white people. The way we define white people is, if there's a black person and a white person that have a kid, that kid's going to be a black kid. So we'd either have to relabel white people or something, or it's inevitable that, the white people will be bred out. And in fact, some leaders, like from some jihadists, especially from the Middle East, are trying to do just that in Europe, and America will be, the United States will be their next target. So if that's what he means, it's not a conspiracy. It's actually going on. Um, but then, it's just more saying it is a conspiracy does talk about the content to some extent, but you're labeling it a conspiracy, so you're kind of dismissing it without actually discussing it. And then you're throwing in the alt-right categorization, which is more about the person, and it's just more demonizing through labels than actually judging content. Um, Kind of character assassination as well. So um, then I say I know nothing about her, and it might be a guy. I don't know. It might be a bot. I I said her because there's a girl in the picture, but um, that's I don't think that's the actual girl who runs it. So I said I know nothing about her, but the way I read this is an anti-white guilt message, and waking up from anti-white brainwashing, which is through the white guilt is what gets installed from that brainwashing, can be extremely difficult. But there's a lot of us now, and you are not alone. So that's the anti-white brainwashing is from the SJWs. So you can say they sound like SJWs, but it's kind of an anti-SJW message in the normal sense of the term SJW, anyways. So um, then he Spinosauruskin, back to him, he responds with, "I was sent this by a white nationalist." Okay, so you're sent it by a white nationalist. You're back to character assassination. That doesn't make them automatically wrong. And this is exactly how they get more followers. And if this person isn't a white nationalist, then you're demonizing them in the same way that Trump's been demonized, and Stephen Bannon and Jeff Sessions, and a lot of these people have been demonized. See, we're up to 68 new tweets, by the way. So it just shows you that they just keep posting them. Um, so then I say from strawman to ad hominem, there's a couple other fallacies like red herring in there as well. And I say, okay, what's wrong with the actual content? And then ideology, not biology, comes in and says there's fuck whites theme from some media politics. White nationalism is still dumb. I don't have a huge problem with what he's saying. I mean, we can talk about some of the different forms of white nationalism. White supremacy is obviously, I don't agree with it, and I don't think there are many good arguments in favor of it. But there are some identity-based arguments that, and about how the country is a majority white. So and it depends on the country, but there are some legitimate arguments to be had within. I call them the non-racist white nationalists. So we use this term white nationalism, but for someone, say a Native American, who's proud of being Native American and sees their tribe as Native American, as a Native American tribe, we wouldn't call them like a Native American nationalist. We wouldn't call a black person a black nationalist very often. Sometimes some people use it, but it's not like a common phrase. So white nationalism, it's like what the white race is the one term where even considering a country to be a majority white, just identifying that as truth can get you called as like a white nationalist. Saying that you know, countries are racial, that type of identity. Um, it's not something I agree with. Like, I'm not a big fan of saying the United States is a white country because it's majority white. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't have a lot of value for me, but I think that's a whole different argument, and we're really judging this content, and we're kind of getting off topic from that. So, um, anyways, I then go to say, check out the Twitter. They aren't even a white nationalist necessarily, and the way they're portraying themselves, they certainly don't seem to be white supremacists. They might be white nationalists, but There's only one tweet, and I'll see if I can find it. This is the tweet that has like I didn't see it at first, but then I was looking through later, and I'm like, oh, that one's a bit much. Where it says, in these times of degenerate behavior, this is considered true rebellion, and degenerate behavior is in black, and everything else is in white. Um, so I would want them to clarify exactly what they mean by that. But um, the comment says 2016 was the year that I finally went to get on Gab, so I could speak freely without being censored. I can't do that on Twitter. You know, and Wednesday Wisdom. That message with this picture could just be as simple as just claiming that, Twitter is cracking down on free speech and to go to Gab so that people can have this white identity and not get banned for it. And that so this is the worst one I could find though. But then let's go to one of the other ones that it's pretty telling in my opinion, unless they're outright lying. But the main weapon anti-whites utilize is name-calling, labeling, and branding. If you don't care what they call you, you win. Thursday Thoughts. This is exactly what Spinosauruskin is doing, and who else did this? Kalen Scott guy. He both of them are. It's just like you're a white nationalist. You're a white. You're this. You're that. You're an SJW. You're all right. Like they don't deal with the content. So then, to get into the content of this, it says Western society has been brainwashed by extreme propagandists for a very long time. Most whites are terrified to show any pride in their people or their race because of these ridiculous labels, and the propagandists know this. They're seeing these words lose their power lately, and it terrifies them, because without them, they have to resort to facts and engage in discussions that they can't usually win without utilizing these fictitious ad hominem attacks as a means of some sort of moral superiority, and thereby magically allowing them to discredit us. And again, this is exactly white motivation. It sounds like SJW shit. I was sent this by white nationalists. That's exactly, you could, Spinosauruskin, do you not see how you're playing right into their message here? And, I mean, and like any reasonable person who reads this, put the whole conversation away about whether they're white nationalists or not. Just read this and say that, do you really disagree with what they're saying here? Because I don't. And I don't think that makes me a white nationalist just because I agree with what's being said here. So then goes on to say, I've never met a white supremacist, nor am I one. So right there, they outright state they're not a white supremacist. They could be lying, but until I have further evidence that they are, I'm just going to believe them. That would mean that I think whites are superior to all other races in every way, and that's just not the case. Asians on average have a higher IQ than whites. If I were a white supremacist, that would also mean that I want to rule over all other races, and that's not true either. I don't want to rule over other races any more than I want them to rule over me. This paragraph isn't really that important. I think they've got some things wrong here, like if you're going to be technical about it, because you can be a white supremacist and not believe that you're going to, or not want to rule over all other races. But that's pretty technical, and I don't think it adds a lot of value to pick it apart that closely. If you look at it, with the best faith possible, this is a perfectly reasonable paragraph. It's actually a very humble paragraph. So then we go on. This simple fact of the matter is that the people who so often use these terms are either completely ignorant as to what they mean or are using them intentionally, knowing full well that they aren't really applicable, to take advantage of their negative connotation in order to dismiss us. Again, do you really disagree with what's being said here? Because I'm sure I shouldn't say most, a lot of people um, who have been called white nationalists, that aren't can can relate to this. So, the whole Trump thing is a perfect example. It's just like every person connected to Trump is suddenly a white nationalist. So then it goes on to say they're just words, and the first step to getting past the tactical word warfare as a white person is to completely stop caring when they're used on you, thereby dismissing them in return. The atheist community has done this to some extent. Like, if someone calls me an infidel, I just say, yeah, I don't believe in God. I'm an infidel. I'm a heathen. We've taken these words back. They don't really, in certain areas, especially where it's safe to do this, and obviously in some places they'll kill you for this type of thing, but where you can speak out in places like the United States, being called a heathen or an infidel doesn't really carry much weight anymore, unless you allow it to. Um, so the LGBTQ plus community, whatever it's being called these days, the gay community, I like to call it. They have done this as well by taking back, the words like queer and things like that. The black community has taken back words like the N word, I'll say. So, so as a white person, I can't use that word, but if I was black, I would be able to call another black person that word, and in friendly way, and I wouldn't get banned. But no, pretty much as a white person, no matter how much, no matter what way I use it, I'll probably get banned on YouTube and other places for just for saying the N word. So it kind of shows you the double standard, and I think that's part of what this message is trying to break through is like, if you're going to create all these racial identities, white is a racial identity too. So it does seem, I would guess it's an alt-right organization, um, but it's not too far right. It seems like more in the middle, or like the non-radical alt-right. So um, I I don't know. I don't see where the cringe part of this message is coming from. I don't think this logic, these counter arguments, are intellectual at all. They're anti-intellectual. They're dismissing. They're very dismissive. They're very arrogant. So I was hoping for more, I'll have to say. And I've actually had this with a couple YouTubers. But the more I run into it, the more I'm gonna try to start making YouTube videos about it. But before I was making YouTube videos, there's some other bigger YouTubers that were just as dismissive, especially on this issue. And then like the more I talk to them, eventually they just stop responding because they're clearly in the wrong here. So um, anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. You can like and subscribe if you'd like. And I'm gonna keep trying to pump out videos, so I'll talk to you guys later. If you have some ideas, put them in the comments, and I'll try to consider your ideas for future videos. Thanks. Bye.